Hello everybody and welcome. It's Juliet here, back with another video for you, and today we're going to be making this beautiful pendant which features some Amazonite, an Amazonite cabochon and some beads around the center. It has some little fringe drops, and I just think it's really elegant and pretty, and it's a little not beginner friendly, I would say, because it does have quite a lot of different stitches in it. However, we'll give it a go, okay? So let's run through all the materials before we start. So first of all, you'll need a chain. I'm using a pre-made chain, and it was 18 inches, and you know, it comes with the connection and everything already on it. So I just cut it in the middle and used 2 jump rings to attach my my necklace, my pendant, once I finished. And these are available at Beebeecraft, and I will put a link down below for the chain. This is called a Figaro chain. Also from Beebeecraft, I'm using a gold bar. These are 1-inch long little connector bars with 2 holes at the end. So you'll just need one of those. You're also going to need a cabochon. So this is a 10mm Amazonite cabochon, and if you watched my last video, you will see those. I will put a link to those down below, but Beebeecraft also have other gemstones, so you know, you can look and see if there's another one that appeals to you. And the thing I like about it is it's not too high profile, it's quite flat. I think you could probably use a 12mm Rivoli as well. If you have a 12mm crystal Rivoli, you could use that in place of this. Then I have some 3mm Amazonite gemstones, again from Beebeecraft. I'll put a link for those. And I have some small little drops here. I think these are 6mm long by like 4mm. And if you watched the unboxing, you would see I got a whole ton of drops from Beebeecraft. So I'll put a link for those as well. And the only other things you're going to need are some jump rings, and you'll need some seed beads, which again, Beebeecraft do carry seed beads, and I'm using Miyuki seed beads. Whether they have these colors in stock, I do not know. However, it's worth checking out if you're going there. So you're going to need some gold 11-0 rounds and some gold delicas, 11-0 delicas. And then these are also delicas, and they are number 2264. So that's what those are, delicas, Miyuki delicas. And then these are 15-0s. This is probably my second favorite color of 15-0s that I use all the time. It's number 2440. Again, Miyuki. So those are the seed beads. Obviously, if you're using a different color gemstone, you can use a different color. If you don't have the gemstone rounds, maybe you could use 3mm rounds or pearl, or, you know, I mean, I think this pattern's kind of worth tweaking a little. And then you'll need, I'm using an size 11 needle, and I'm using a nylon thread today in a gold color to match with my seed beads. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so again, if you do go to Beebeecraft, remember to use my discount code, which is JULES10, JULES10, and you can get 10% off your order if you do need to order any supplies. Okay, so I have about 4 feet of thread on my needle right now, and we're gonna sew the base of the pendant area, which is done in a stitch called Hubble stitch. So some of you may know that, some of you may not, but we're going to be using it. And this fringe, we're going to add this on when we finish, after we finish our first row, and as we're going along and doing our second row. Okay, so to begin, we're going to be working just with our Miyuki rounds, 11 O's, and we're going to pick up 3 of our seed beads, and you're going to push those down. Just leave a tail long enough to sew in at the end. I like to leave about 4 inches, about double the length of my needle. I'm just going to sew again through the very first bead that I went through in order to form a little triangle like this, okay? And then I'm going to pick up one more bead and I'm going to go into the next bead. And this is a Hubble stitch right here. So it looks like a little person, his little feet, his little head, and his 2 arms going, yay, okay? So this is the right way up, and this is upside down, okay? And Hubble stitch will spin and turn as you are working, so you need to be careful that you, on row 2, that you are stitching into the head and that it hasn't flipped over so that you're stitching into the tail. So to do the next stitch, we pick up 3 more beads and we just push it right down next to where we are. Okay, so it looks like this. And these are our 3 that we just added, 1, 2, and 3, okay? And you're gonna sew through the second, that first bead of the 3, okay? And when you pull it, whoop, it may end up halfway up your thread. That's okay. You can just slide it down with your fingernail or whatever. And you just want to get it kind of budged up next to the first stitch, okay? Like this. So you see I have my 3 here, yeah? And I'm just trying to snug it right on in there, okay. And then we're going to pick up 1 more of our 11s and we're going to sew down the next bead. So now I have 2 Hubble stitches and I'm going to do this until I have 5. So again, pick up 3, push it down, and sew through the first of those 3 in the direction that you're working. So I'm going this way, okay? Pull your thread tight, make sure it turns into a little triangle shape. Snug it up. The snugging up is kind of important, otherwise you may have gaps, but you can always snug at the end of the row. And then pick up 1 more and go through the next bead. So now I have 3 stitches. That bead's a little twisted, there we go. So now I have 3, and you can still, as I said, snug it if you need to once you've put that 4th bead on. Okay, so let's just quickly do 2 more. Okay, so I've got my 5 stitches on, and you can see that they've turned in different directions the way they want to. That's fine for now, just as long as the stitch you're working on is sitting the right way up, okay? So we're coming out from this right hand bead and we're gonna sew into the bottom. So just continue in the direction that the thread is going. And we're going to pick up 111, 1 of our drops. And I think here I picked up the gold drops. Do I like the look of that? Yeah, I think I do. So I'm going to pick up another gold. I was considering picking up a 15, but I think I'll stick with the gold accent on the bottom of the drop. So pick up an 11, a drop, and an 11. And push everything down. And then you're going to skip the bottom 11 and go up through the drop and the 11 above it, okay? And pull everything nice and tight and you may need to use your fingernail and snug it up a little bit. And then because we're coming out, when we originally started the drop, our thread was coming out this side of the 11-0 here. So we're going to sew into the other side of the 11-0 just to kind of even it out. And that way our drop will be centered, hanging from that middle 11-0 right there. And you may need to kind of tweak the tension to get it to sit centered. Okay, and then we're going to sew up on our Hubble stitch. We're going to sew up through the arm on the left hand side and the head. Okay, and now we're ready to start our second row. So for this, we're going to pick up 2 beads, 2 of our seed beads, and we're coming out on the right hand side, so I'm going to enter into the left hand side. Okay, so now I have a little triangle here. I'm going to sew through the next bead. Okay, and then I'm going to add 1 more and sew through the next bead. So just add 1 drop, sew through the next bead. So you can now see that I have another unit that is sitting right on top of the first unit. Okay, so this is like our second row here. Okay, now I need to look, my next bead is upside down, so I'm just going to twist my work so that my next bottom Hubble stitch is the right way up. And I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s. And I'm going to sew, so I'm coming out in this direction. I'm going to sew back towards myself through the top of this next stitch right here. Okay, so sew towards where you are coming from. And then I'm going to sew up through the first of those 2 beads that I just added. So there's the 2 beads I added. I'm going to sew up through that first one. Okay, so I have 3 like this, and then I'm going to add 1 more for the little head of our little Hubble man. Okay, so now I have my second unit on. I need to come down here and put on the drop. So I'm going to pass through the next 2 beads. Plus the one at the very bottom. And make sure you don't get looped around. Okay. So now I'm going to add here 3 seed beads. Here we added 1. We're going to add 3 and a drop, and then the bottom one. So we're going to add 3 of our 11-0s. 1 drop again. Make sure you're going into the top of the drop. And 1 more 11-0. Push it all down. And then I'm going to go up through, so I'm skipping that very bottom bead. I'm going up through the drop and the 3 beads that we just added. Okay, and you can see my thread is coming out the left hand side of that bottom Hubble stitch. So I'm going to enter into the right hand side in order to center my fringe. Okay, so here is my second drop added, and now I just need to work my way back up to here. So I have to circle around through this bead, this bead, this bead, this bead, this bead. So go ahead and circle back around, and the subsequent rows, once we've got this on, will go a lot quicker. It's just we have to double back down in order to add our fringe on for row 2, so it's a little bit more complicated than the other rows will be, okay? So I'm just following the beads around. It is possible to add your fringe on the first row, but I find the tension goes a bit strange, so which is why I decided to add it on the second. So remember to check which way up your next stitch is, and just like we did before, you're going to pick up 2, you're going to go back towards where you are now. So go through that head bead towards where you are now. And you'll have to keep your thread kind of off to the back so that you don't get tangled up in it like I am. Oh no, I'm not. Okay. And then you're going to go forward through that first of the 2 beads that you just added. So you go backwards and then you go forward through 1. Okay. And that creates that little triangle, and then you can just add his head on. And then we're going to work our way down to do our fringe again. So just follow the path of the beads. So go through, sorry, it's popping up. So go through this bead, this bead, this bead. Then this time you're going to add 5 plus your drop and your gold, and then you're going to work your way around. You're going to add 2, go back the direction you came. You're going to then add the 1. You're going to work your way down, make sure that's the right way up when you connect. You're going to add 3, and then on the last one you're going to add 1. So I'm going to go off and do that. I think you guys have probably got it now. So I will come back at the end of this row. Okay, so as you can see, I've finished doing my second row and putting my drops on. And I've just put the last drop on. I've come up through this bottom bead right here. And I'm actually where my tail is. So I'm going to now tie my tail and my working thread together. And that's just going to help keep the tension a little bit better as we're working, because you don't want that tail to unravel. So I'm just doing a little square knot, and I will tie my tail in later. I'm not going to bother doing it right now. Okay. So now I just need to work my way back up to the top. So I'm just going through the bottom Hubble stitch through the left hand side. Then I'll go through that middle bead, and then up through the right hand side and the top of the second row. Okay, so now I am ready to begin my next row. Now this will go a lot quicker now because you won't have to work up and down to add your fringe. So the idea is just the same as what we were doing. So you pick up your 2 seed beads. You go back through the way you were going. Okay, so in a circle, form a circle. You go up through the first stitch. On your little set of 3, and then you just add that 1. And then you're ready to start your next stitch. So for your next stitch, you just pick up 2. You sew back towards where you came from. Then you sew through that first bead where the direction that you're going. Okay, and that's what creates that little Y shape. And then you just add your last little locking stitch on the top. Okay, and again, pick up 2, go backwards, go forwards. This goes quicker once you've gotten the swing of it. add that last bead. So just keep going. When you get to the end, all you have to do is circle around till you come out the top, and then just add your 2 at the next one, and just keep going. And you want to keep going until you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows of Hubble stitch. So 8 by 5. So keep working, and I'll come back when I have that done. Okay, so I have done my 8 rows, and you'll know that it's 8 by counting. You can count the little bead that sticks off to the side here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I just love the way Hubble stitch looks to me, like little plants, like little flower, plant motifs, like acanthus or something, on a wallpaper. And it's also such a soft fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to add my very last stitch on here. So I'm picking up my 2, going back towards myself. And just take your time when you're doing this stitch. Make sure that your thread is not getting looped around anything. Patience really pays off, getting the tension better and even on this stitch. So don't rush through it, okay? Enjoy the process. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add 4 of our 3 millimeter beads. We're going to add it onto the 3rd from the bottom, the 2nd row in, the 3rd from the bottom, the 2nd row in, and also on the 3rd from the top. So these 4 spots. So you count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. You can only stitch through here from under to under. So sometimes you have to go down an extra row, move across, and then move up, okay, when you're trying to get somewhere. So I'm up here in the corner, and I'm just going to follow my current thread path. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go through here, and what I want to do is I want to make my way down to 1, 2, 3, this pair of beads right here. Okay, the 2 middle beads, or the arms of that stitch, is where I want to be. So I'm going to just follow. I'm winding my way down the outside row. And here I'm going to have to go down and then come back up, because I can't go through here and come over. I have to go down and then come up, okay? Because of the way that the beads are. So here I can go through here because I'm coming from under, I'm coming down, and then I can go up. And then I'll just work my way up to the unit above, which is actually where I want to be. Okay, and when I get here, I'm going to go through that first seed bead of the 2 arms towards the middle. You want to be going towards the middle, and then you pick up one of your 3 millimeter beads, and you go through the 2nd bead, the other arm. Okay, and that is just going to connect that on, and it's not necessarily going to sit all that great, so just take a moment and try and just make sure that it is on there. And then I'm going to work my way down the row until I get to right here, and I'm going to attach another one on. So I'm just following my thread path, and I cannot cut through It's better to go down a row and then across if you need to, or across, as long as you know where you're going. Just be careful not to, like I said, go over where the two arms connect on the units. Okay, so here I am, but I'm going the wrong direction. So I'm in the correct unit, but I'm going outwards and I need to be going inwards. So I'm going to circle around through the foot and then through the arm. And now I'm going inwards, so I can now put on my next 3 millimeter bead. So I just go through the other arm. Coming out one arm, I go through the other arm. So as you can see, you may need to kind of circle around a little bit. And I'm just trying to get it so that the hole is kind of level and the bead is on. Okay. So I just need to attach 2 more. So I'm just going to wiggle through this row here because I am coming out in the right direction. So let's just do that very quickly so I can go up the next arm and head. And down the arm. And up the next arm and head. Oh, sorry, just the next arm. I'm in the right place. And then I can add the next bead and go into the next arm. Okay, and now I'm going to circle around. I'm going to work my way up the row until I get up to here, and I'm going to add my last one on. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've just added my 4th one, and it was quite easy just to zigzag up to get there, to add that 4th one on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue around the stitch here, so I'm coming out from an arm, and I'm going to go in to the leg below, and I'm just going to circle back around and enter that bead again that I just added. So go up the arm, and then through that bead again. So I'm exiting from the bead that I just added. Okay, now I'm going to pick up 2 15s and 1 3 millimeter and 2 15s. Okay, so I'm picking up 2 15s, 1 3 millimeter and 2 15s, and I'm just going to sew straight into the next bead that is sitting on the top, the next 3 millimeter. And it's just going to form a line between them like this. Then I'm going to do the same thing through all 4 beads. So I'm going to pick up 2 15s, a 3 millimeter, and 2 15s. And I'm going to sew into the next bead. If I can find the hole. There we go. And this is why you may want to be using a slightly thinner needle, because these gemstones do have smaller holes than a lot of glass beads do. So I just wanted to be sure that I wouldn't have an issue going through my gemstones twice. Okay, so just repeat until you have formed a square. Okay, so I'm now finishing off the last side of my square. Well, it's more of a circle, really. And this is where our cabochon will sit in here. Okay, so now go ahead and sew through the next 2 15s and through the next gemstone. And I'm really hoping I have enough thread to finish this. I should have had just sort of 6 inches more. Okay, so we're going to pick up an 11, 3/15s, and an 11. Okay, and we're going to, if I'm coming out the top middle stone, I'm going to go into the left-hand side middle stone, just the gemstone. And it's going to just sit kind of like that, almost diagonal across. And we're going to repeat that 3 more times. So it's 1 11, 3 15s, and 1 11. Go into the very bottom gemstone. So you're just going into the top, the left-hand side, the bottom, and the right-hand side, and then back into the top. And then once you've got to the top, you can go ahead and pass through the next 5 seed beads. So your 11, your 2 15s, and your 11 that we just added in that round. Okay. So you're exiting from the gold bead right before the next gemstone. Okay, now would be a good time to hold your stone in place. Kind of sit it in there. And you may need to put it on your bead mat. It's not going to stay at this point, but you just want it roughly where it's going to be, okay? And then I'm just going to pick it up and hold it with my thumb and pull tightly. Okay, so it's kind of in there, but not really. That's my tail. Okay. All right, so now we're going to pick up 2 15s, and we're just going to jump into the next 11 and pass through all 5 of these seed beads here. And we're going to do that all the way around. So you're picking up your 2 15s, go through the next 5 seed beads. So just skip right over that gemstone, and you want it to sit on the inside like this, okay? And don't worry if your stone is kind of jumping around a little bit. We will get it to settle down. So I've got my 2 15s here, and I'm going through the next 5 seed beads. So this is also kind of reinforcing. Make sure you're pulling nice and tight on this. And obviously do all 4 gemstones, the top and the bottom and the 2 sides. And again, this will not hold your stone in. Our next move will. Okay, so that is my last of my little pairs of 2 15-Os. So this is our very last move, and this is going to hold our stone in place. So enter through the 2 15-Os. Okay, so I'm coming out from the side here, these 2 15-Os, and I'm going to pick up 1 15, 1 11, and 1 15. And I'm just going to enter into the next 2 15-Os at the bottom. And you're just going to do that all the way around, 15, 11, 15, and it's going to create like a second row of beads inside the first row of beads. And this is going to keep our stone in place. So 15, 11, 15. Go through the top. My thread is really short, which is why I'm struggling a little bit here. And my last one, and pass through the next two 15s. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you're going to reinforce all the way around. Anywhere that needs a little tightening, go ahead and tighten. And then if you have enough thread, you may want to reinforce the connections. Here, you might even want to connect the fabric on the sides or the bottom or the top to the stones so that everything sits nicely. And you can tie off that thread and we'll start a new one to finish the top section. So I'm going to just deal with my little thread here and I will come back in a minute. Okay, so I went ahead and finished off my thread. Make sure you've reinforced anything that you want to, and I also tied off my other end thread here. And if you look at the bag, you can see how the fabric will kind of accommodate the back of your cabochon, the curve of it, because it does kind of drape. So, all right, so we're now going to do the top section, which is basically a peyote stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stop bead on, and I'm just going to use a gold round because I'm not using that for my top, so I'll know that that is the one that needs to come off. All right, so what you're going to do is, let me bring my beads over this way. We're switching now to our delicas. So you're finished with your 15s and your 11s, okay? So the rest is all delicas. Okay, so I'm going to pick up one of my colored delicas and I'm going to sew through the top, the first little top bead there, and that's my stop bead, okay, so it doesn't fall off. Okay, now I'm going to pick up two delicas. Again, I'm just using the colored ones, and I'm going to sew into that next top bead. So just like this. Again, I'm picking up two. I'm going into the next bead along the top. Two. I think you guys are getting the idea here. And two more. And then I'm going to pick up two more. And I'm going to sew back into my gold bead. And these are like my end. So you want them to sit next to each other like this with the thread there. So I'm coming out and going in, okay? So they should sit beside each other. Okay, now you're going to pick up 2 more of your colored beads, and again you're going to sew through the gold bead, and those are going to sit next to each other as well. Okay, pick up 2 more, go into the next gold bead at the top. Got caught on something. I think it might have been my zipper on my sweater. Okay. Pick up 2 more. So we're just creating, and we're just going into the next gold bead, and we're just creating a second row of beads like this, okay? Pick up 2 more, go into the next gold bead, and now we're at the end. Yeah, I am. I'm getting caught on my zipper. Okay, I've kind of tucked it away now. And the perils of beading. Okay, and here we are at the end. So this is our stop bead, this gold bead here. So I'm just going to pick up 1 of our colored beads, and I'm going to sew down that first bead. And it'll just sit right next to it. I can take my stop bead off now, so you can see. So they're just sitting next to each other like this, okay? So now I'm going to pick up 1 of my gold delicas, and I'm going to sew into the next pair of 2. And I'm going to go all the way along, and I'm going to pick up, sorry, not a gold one. Here I'm picking up a colored one. I'm going to go into the next pair of 2. So it's going to sit next to the gold bead here. If you look at mine, you see how I have only 2 rows of the gold, and that's going to be this one and this one. Everything else is my colored delicas. Okay, pick up 1, go through 2. Pick up 1, go through 2. And here we pick up a gold delica, and we just go through 1. And this is where now, so we are doing odd count peyote, which means we have to do a funny little turnaround thingy, but not yet. On the next row we are going to. Here we're still in a position where we can just pick up our 1 delica, and we can go into the gold delica that we just added. And that's our, so this is our nice side that's easy to turn around. This is going to be our complicated side where we have to go around the houses. So here you're going to pick up 2, and you're going to go into the next one that is next to that gold bead, the one that's kind of sticking out a little bit. So we're just doing kind of 2 1 drop peyote. So we're alternating 2 1 2 1. So every time you're going this direction, you're going to be picking up 2. Every time you're going that direction, you're going to be picking up 1. Okay, so here is where I get stuck. So I'm going to pick up 1, and I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down through. So I'm coming out the gold bead. I'm going into the end bead and the gold bead. Okay, and what I like to do with odd count peyote is I do different turns on every row, and that way you don't get like a weird little line that's like obviously where you've done all your turns. So here I am going to go through these 2 beads as well. And then I'm going to turn. Once I get detangled, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to go, so I'm coming out from these 2 on the edge. I'm going to go through the next 2 and just turning and going straight back up again, the 2 beside it. Okay, and that thread will just pop in there so you can't even see it at all. And then I am ready to go out my gold and the one away from the edge. Okay. And then I can turn and go down here, and I'm ready to add my next gold delica. All right, so pick up a gold delica, and then here you're sewing through 2 beads. So you're going through the 2. And then a colored, a colored, a colored, and then a gold. So just go along, going through the 2s. So on this, in this direction, I'm going through 2 and I'm picking up 1. In the other direction, I'm going through 1 and I'm picking up 2. And when I get here at the end, I'm going to be picking up a gold delica instead of one of my blue-green delicas. And on this end, you have an easy turnaround. So you just pick up 1 and you go right back down where you just came from, what you just added, that gold. And on the other end, you're going to have to work down. So on the next row, what I do is I just work down 1 between the pair and I work back up, and then the next one I just worked, I skip into the gold bead and I circle back around. So that way each join is in a different place. Now you're going to keep working until you have 5 gold beads. So let me do that and I'll come back. Okay, so I've just added my 5th gold bead. I need to do 1 more row, and then we're going to, our next row after that will be to zip it together. So I'm at my easy turn right now where I'm doing my 2 and my last turnaround, I just went doubled back through the gold beads, so I'm going to go a bit further down for this turnaround. Circle back through these beads. Okay. So now we're ready to do our zipping row. So what you should have, let me just turn into this first bead here. Okay, so here we have pairs, and here we have pairs, which means that our single bead is going to be the one that we zip together. So we're going to do 1 more row of singles. And this will be the row that we use to zip it all together. So I guess technically I could have said go until you have 6 single beads, 6 gold beads. But you know, I like to challenge you guys. And our last gold bead. Okay. All right, so go ahead and get one of your bars and you can see if you fold it over how it's going to be. Okay. You don't have to sew it together with the bar in it. So I'm coming out from this end bead here, and I'm going to go into this first bead here. And I want to pull that into a circle. Okay, and I'm going to put my bar there just so I know how tight or loose I need to pull it. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew into the next gold bead on the far side, so up at the top. And I want my thread to be all in front of the bar. Okay, and then I'm going to sew through the 2 beads down here. And then I'm going to sew through the 1 bead on this side. And you can see how that is now zipping together. And I'm going to sew through the 2 beads down here, the 1 bead up here, two, one, two. So I'm just going back and forth from the top to the bottom to the top to the bottom. 1. And on that very last one, you will need to go through that bottom 1 to join the edge. And then back up through the one that the kind of corner one that you're joining to, okay? And when you pull it, it should all look completely seamless, just like the rest of it, okay? So now, before you tie your thread off, do any reinforcing. I like to go back through this row again, just to make sure that everything is good. And because I ran out of thread, I'm going to go down here and reinforce, and then you're basically done. So all you have to do is open your jump rings by twisting them open with pliers, put them on your bar, and attach your chain. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this project. I know it's a little bit more complicated than some of them are. Possibly not necessarily the most beginner friendly project. However, it is such a pretty pendant, I think, really striking, I think. So I wanted to share it with you. And if you need any supplies, the gemstones, the bars, do go and check out Beebeecraft and make sure that you do use that discount code Jules10 for your 10% off your order. Okay, you guys, I will see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.